Today's webinar is entitled Fielding IDIs Has Never Been Easier. Gilles Gauthier and Dan Weber from ITracks will be providing the presentation. Gilles, Director of Product Development at ITracks, joined our team in 2010. He attended the University of Manitoba and graduated with a computer science degree. He went on to earn a professional certification as a Certified Usability Analyst with Human Factors International. Gilles has 14 years of software and product development experience. He has focused the ITracks software development team towards innovative product development and provides a strong culture for user-centric software standards and practices. As President and CEO, Dan Weber has grown ITracks into the specialty online qualitative software and services firm it is today. Dan attended the University of Saskatchewan, where he obtained a Bachelor of Science degree. He went on to earn the practical knowledge of traditional market research while working for a management consulting firm. It was while he was working at this firm that he conceptualized the idea of taking traditional research methodologies online. In 1996, Dan founded ITracks. He was a pioneer in online surveys and online qualitative software. Dan has since built ITracks into the leading qualitative software provider that it is today. Dan's passion is bringing value to clients through innovation.
Thanks, Garnett. I appreciate the introduction. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I thought I would just start by giving a little bit of a background about ITracks. Some of you may not have worked with us in the past, and kind of form the story around how this product came to be and our experience in working in this area. As Garnett mentioned, we are an independent MR technology firm. That's our focus, is building software for the qualitative research industry. It was quite some time ago, actually, in 2000, where we came up with the first version of our online focus group and followed that up shortly with a bulletin board discussion. It wasn't until probably maybe about 5 or 6 years ago where we introduced our third product. That was the video focus group application. And have been offering those three products up until, I guess it was November last year, where we introduced this new product that we're going to show you today. This product that we're showing you today came out of kind of a combination of the different things that we've learned using the video focus group product. And really, the focus was around making things easy. We knew, even using our own piece, and how managing IDIs and the whole process, there's a lot of different people using different software, and our focus today is really talking about making IDIs easy and getting the researchers the information they need quickly and easily. We are also proud to announce that we have recently signed a partnership with Research Now. One of the things that makes IDIs easy is being able to find the people you need and them actually showing up. So knowing that we have a strong partner in Research Now behind us, we're able to find those people for the IDI groups. Just to give you a little bit of background of where the IDI sits in our suite of products, Gilles embarked on a project where we're actually piecing our different products together. We call it Go, and within the Go platform, we have the ITracks chat platform, like a text chat. Our video chat application is in there, and our iMarket markup tool. This product, the ITracks IDI, has also joined into our Go platform. Gilles will talk a little bit about Go and its purposes. We are working this year to put the remainder of our products into the Go platform, so you have one place to do all of your online qualitative research. But this IDI product actually exists within that platform, and you'll see the benefits of that shortly. Just a bit of a background on the IDI market itself. It's about a $1.2 billion global spend, which represents about 18.75% of the total qual. This came out of the most recent SMR Global Research Report. So it's not certainly not the largest qualitative research methodology, that being traditional focus groups. It certainly is significant. And in doing our research, Gilles and I, we recognize that there really isn't software built specifically for doing telephone IDIs. There's a real mix of what people are using, and in most cases, none of it was really easy. And so the other thing we noticed is that this is a growing industry. I think what people realize is with the application of online and being able to show people stimulus, being able to show them information, they wanted the ability to do IDIs, but just in a concise format. So it is a growing part of the industry, but again, we felt that they needed to be addressed with technology. So with that, I'm just going to pass it over to Gilles. He's going to talk to you a little bit about his concepts and what we go through.
Thanks, Dan. So in looking at we had the business to and the statistics there to show to be building a product. We really wanted to go deeper and dive deeper in why telephone was still being used, to get a good understanding of what the market we're hitting and hit it in the best way we can. So one of the things that we found right away was that the phone is still an easy, reliable, and universal way to communicate with people. It's the easiest way to connect with somebody without having barriers. Everybody's got a phone that you can call, and it's not tied to, oh, I'm on Skype or I'm on another platform that I need to subscribe to. So in our research with the industry, what we found was we asked people how they were conducting interviews, and it was as simple as people making a phone call to somebody and talking to them for an hour. There was people doing calls without recordings. There was sometimes recordings were done using a speakerphone and an iPhone, pulling out the audio later on and sending it for transcription. Calls are being made without doing any media sharing, and then calls are a lot of the calls were being done without a client participating in the back room. Whenever there was a share that was involved, things like Skype calls were starting to get used, but then you have again, it's not connected to everyone, so there's definitely some barriers with that as well. So whenever people were wanting to share, to have a back room, they're starting to use video conferencing software. And video conferencing software wasn't necessarily built for research, and so there's a lot of components in that product to be operating, and for something as simple as I just want to have a conversation with somebody on the phone and show them a few pieces with my clients in the background. So our goal was to make that experience really easy. We also found that the phone was really a requirement for quality and to remove those technology barriers, and that typically if there was a recording being done, that it was for the purposes of a transcription. So that really basically became the foundation of what we built here, is the ability to get your audio recording easily and then push that over to a transcription being done from the platform itself. So again, just to reiterate, our goal was to make it easy, take away all the barriers, and we built a product based off of our own experiences in hosting interviews and video interviews or phone interviews with the video off, and what were some of the pain points we found as well as a software supplier in the industry. So with that, we had a few other things that, from a pain point perspective, that we want to add into the product. We wanted to make sure that we really had streamlined scheduling, media sharing, data and data collection. So in our media share, we also wanted to make sure we didn't have any plugins. So that's one of the things we experienced with, like when we do video focus groups that leverages a platform like Adobe Connect. The client needs to download a plugin. And then that usually entails having tech checks to make sure the computer they're on can handle that plugin. We wanted to work on smartphones and tablets because we know that the popularity of that is not just coming, it is there. And we want to make sure we can share media without having them download a component again or an app. And of course, encourage the client involvement in the back room in a way that every single one of our interviews has a back room available for it. It isn't extra work or costs to have that as part of your study. And another big pain point we wanted to address was the fact that we wanted to remove the necessity of having conference phone numbers and PIN codes. As soon as you have back rooms and special rooms in the back for the phone line, special phone lines for the back room, you're dealing with a moderator, observers, and a participant. You're dealing with phone conference lines, and we wanted to remove the conference lines numbers and pins. We've seen it so often. You get a valuable panelists coming in to do participate in your study, and you lose them because they couldn't figure out the phone number and the pin because they're not used to doing that on a daily basis like we are in the business world. And of course, the download of the audio and the full transcript. So without spending too much time on all that, I'd like to just show, sorry, before I move to that, I want to show that we still offer video chats, and we have also phone IDIs. And the reason we've kept the products separate is there's a whole level of complexity when you add video that we wanted to remove for the phone lines. And with that, we wanted to shave off costs on it so that we can offer phone-only interviews at a lower price, and also that's a more palatable price, but you get all the features of a back room, an output, an audio file, get your transcriptions. So if video is still something you're looking at doing for interviews, we still have that, but it's a separate product right now. So with that, let's take a look at how easy it is to do. And the easiest way for me to show you this is to really take the experience from each user type. So your participant that you're doing an interview with, your client observers who are sitting in the back room, and your moderators who are setting up the research and sending out invites and running the actual interview. So let's start with the participant. We'll assume you've already recruited for that participant, and the first interaction that they would get from our platform would be that you've sent them out an invite confirming the time that you've agreed upon. And what we have in that invite, and this is totally customizable to the content that you want, but we're able to push out and say that, hey, you've given us a phone number already, we're going to call you at this number and at this time, date and time. So there is no necessity for them to have to put in a phone number and a PIN number. We put it at the bottom of the email if at all they want to call in that way, that's fine, but we really promote that we're just going to call you.
Gilles, I think it's important to note that this is all auto-generated for the client. So once you've booked an interview and you need to send out the invite, 90% of this is ready to go. All the dates, times, phone numbers, everything is built right into that email.
Yeah, and then we're going to go over that as well when we go through the experience for the moderator, and it's going to tie back into how did this email get to this invite get to the participant. So again, sticking with the participant's experience, when we get closer to the interview, they're going to get a reminder, and again, it's going to remind them that we're going to call you at this time. Let's just say, for example, and this happens a lot, that our participant forgot about this interview and was like, hey, wait a second, that's my home number. I could take this interview. I just have my phone number. I want to change the number. So they can, on their own, without having to contact you as a moderator, go into the platform, click it. This works on a mobile device as well. Change the phone number and save it out. And our systems, our conference lines have all been updated at this point. There's nothing for a moderator to do to manage that the phones, what we're calling out to is changed. The participants done this on their own. And what it'll also tell you on the screen is it'll tell you how far you're away from the interview itself. Now the interesting thing we've done here is in this whole experience of the participant, you haven't seen a username or password for the participant. And that was really key in making sure that we keep the experience very seamless. Now, usually when you don't have username and passwords, people ask, well, what's the security behind it? Because I'm going to be sharing content. And we've built that all into the platform that we've leveraged the phone lines as the security content. So as soon as the moderator will connect, in this interview and the participants and the moderator are connected, this screen automatically changes where if the moderator is sharing content, that content will be available. If ever the participant or the moderator hang up in that conversation, automatically the shared screens are locked down and you can't see it. So we've used the phone lines as a security system to secure your valuable content, but we haven't hindered the participant with extra steps like a login information. Once a moderator decides to share, if you're not sharing any content, that would be the end of it. There's really just a phone call to the participant and they pick up the call and get on the interview. If the moderator is sharing content, this is what it would look like from a participant, from a mobile device view or from a computer if they're logged in on a computer. And that's really the entire experience for a participant. There isn't much to get connected. And again, there is no plugins with all of this. Now, what we've built under the hood is that we wanted to make sure that we have a great experience in when a client or a participant loses a connection, or you as a moderator even lose a connection. So what you see here is if ever as a participant your phone died and because you're on a cell phone, the battery went out, or you're on a cell phone, you lost your connectivity, we'll recognize that right away within the platform, and we'll lock the screens. We'll put up a message that says, "Hey, we've lost your connection. Please call back in." At this point, they can actually change their phone number if they decided that, "Hey, I'm going to use a different phone," and call them back at that phone number. Or if it's the same number, I just lost my connection temporarily, it's the backup, I can hit the call me button and it calls me right back. I've got no conference lines, no PIN numbers. And from the moderator side of the screens, they'll see that on their screen as well, and they can actually do the same thing in calling out the client or the participant at the same number or change the number and call them differently. And that brings us then to the client observer's experience. So with the client observer, what we wanted to tailor in their experience is we wanted to give them the interview schedule, so they see when are all these interviews occurring. And then for them, we actually, for observers and moderators, we have an opt-in for the call me feature. And the reason we've done that is because if you're available for 5 of the interviews, but one of them has a collision with another meeting that I can't get out of, I don't want to be called during that meeting. So it's an opt-in for the call me features. And if they get out of that meeting, they can actually still get into it and get the system to call them back if last minute. They can come in halfway through it. And then, of course, we want to give them the engaging pattern background. So from the scheduling perspective, an observer would see a list of all the activities within a project they've been given access to. So in this case, I was available for Jeff, Dominic, Brianna, and Joshua's interviews. I'm not able to make it for Leanne, so I'm not going to put the call me feature on that one. And that's really the only thing you need to do as an observer is to see the list and tell the system which one you want to automatically call me back on, and make sure that your phone number is there. When the time comes for the interviews, what will happen is the upcoming interview that's scheduled to be up within, let's say, within the next hour here, it'll put a join now, so it's available to come in. Once they join. Now they're going to see the sharing platform, the back room, but before I show you that, I want to talk to you a little bit about the experience that they have with the phone lines. And if you look at this image, what we've separated the phone lines, we've put the observers on the orange side of the rectangle, and on the aqua side is the participant and the moderator having an interview. What happens here is while the interview is happening with Jeff and Kate, that interview is projected into a separate backroom phone line. And so the observers can hear that conversation, but it does not their conversation does not get back into the interview line with the moderator and participant. So if they're talking, so they can still talk in their line, it doesn't come back into the interview. Rachel, the observer, could say, "Hey Jeff, why don't we probe Kate about asking a little bit more about this topic?" And Nathan goes, that's a great idea. So the way that your observers communicate with you is through our chat platform. So this is the web-based side of things. They will have a chat area. This is also the place where they will see the media that's being shared in the interview. But they can communicate through chat with the moderator at this point. And the moderator sees the chat as well in the back room. They just don't connect from a voice and phone perspective. It's a less invasive communication. And that's the experience for an observer. Really all it is. You pick up the phone, you set yourself up to be called for specific interviews, you log in to the platform, get into your interview.
They don't have to mute their phone, they don't have to worry about them accidentally talking.
Yes, and they don't have any control over the interviews, the interview itself from a content perspective. So it's really silent in the back, aside from the chat communication with the moderator. So then we're at the point where we're at moderator. So how difficult is it to set this up and to run this? So in analyzing what we're going to have our moderators do, we really wanted to keep things simple. We wanted to make sure that it was a self-creation of the phone interviews. We didn't want you to have to call us to set up the conference lines or anything like that, or even the mistakes in having somebody set up the conference lines and giving you a wrong pin or something like that. We also, aside from the management of the conference lines, we wanted no conference numbers or pins to call into. We didn't want to have to depend on that. Even though we have them, our system promotes that you don't use them. It just makes things a lot easier. And of course, no plugins again to deal with from the moderator's perspective, and also from the participant's perspective. You don't have to tech check them, make sure that everything's going to be good for the interview. So what I'd like to do is kind of start from the beginning, like we did with the participants. As a moderator, likely you end up with an Excel file that's a recruit grid. Either you did your recruitment through a phone, or you did it through an online panel. Either way, typically you'll end up with an Excel sheet of your participants. And what we wanted to do, knowing that that's the usual medium you get, we wanted to make sure that our platform handles that as an upload. So we want you to be able to upload participants from your recruit grid right to our platform. And so what we've done is we look for specific column names, so email address, display name, full name, phone numbers. You can give us as little as the email address just for the login purposes. If you give us a phone number, automatically that'll be imported, and that's the number that's going to be scheduled to call out that client from our system's perspective. The columns that are in yellow are columns that our system doesn't know about. So if you provide us columns that we don't know about, we assume that's profile information that you want to import. So we import that as profile information for you to look at. Right before you get into an interview, you can say, okay, I'm about to get into an interview with Dominic. Let me see Dominic's profile. Did he fall into what kind of vehicle types, what age, income range? So you can be prepared while you're doing your interview. Once you have your grid, what you'd want to do is go into our platform and create a project that'll have multiple interviews within it. So if we create a project, by adding a project, or giving it a name, and then when you get to the setting up of activities, you would set up however many interviews that you're going to be doing. So in this case, we had 5. I'm just going to give it a name. So Jeff's interview, I'm going to give it a time. And duration is just for us to understand, is this a 1 hour, 2 hour? It will never cut off a conversation because you said an hour and you went at an hour and 15 minutes. And then basically all I do at this point is I duplicate that interview and just change the times in the label. And so I can end up with, I could create my 5 interviews up front, or I could create just one because I don't know the participants yet, and I could do that afterwards. But in this case, let's say we've done them all. When I hit save, automatically the system will create the phone lines and all for that interview. The back rooms are all prepared. Everything's done under the hood. You haven't, as a moderator, you haven't seen a phone line or a PIN number or anything yet. And we don't plan on showing you it. Now, remember we had the grids with all our participants, so now I'm going to import my participants. This is where I would import, I go to the users, import those participants from the grid, and I'd end up with the participant list and assign them to what interview they're assigned to. As soon as that's done, as soon as they're assigned to specific interviews, under the hood, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's happening with the call me features being turned on for the participants. Everything's set up for you. You don't have anything else to do. And the next thing really for you is to send out an invite for the times that they had agreed with. And that's where we can leverage our broadcaster. There's a lot of logic that's been added to our broadcasters to handle so that you don't have to deal with sending individual emails for individual interviews. And so in this broadcaster, you could basically pick all of your interviewees and automatically, like Dan was saying earlier, you have the templates you want to load. So I want to load the template for the participants that I've customized, and you can change these and add as many templates as you would like, or customize the look and feel and the content. I could choose to send out the broadcast immediately, or I can actually broadcast it to be, or schedule it to be broadcasted next week. So let's say my interviews are all happening next week, and this is Monday of the previous week, and I get this all set up, and I want to schedule the interviews, the emails to go out on the Friday. I don't have to come back on Friday to set this all up and send it out. I could just schedule it to be sent out on a specific time and date. Once you've selected all those features, we basically give you, as the last step, we give you what it'll look like. So using the template you did, it'll give an example of the first person on the list, and that'll match their phone number and their time. But each person on the list will get a customized email based on their time and their phone numbers, and it'll automatically send it out and distribute it for you. So now your participants have received their emails or their invites, and everything is ready to go. There is really nothing else for you to do as a moderator other than, if you want to have a guide implemented within your interviews, you can do that as well to go in. But let's say that you've got that all set up and you're at the interview, you're about to go into an interview with Jeff, and Dominic calls, and we get this all the time. Dominic calls or sends an email saying, hey, I can't make it for my 1 o'clock appointment. Can I change it to tomorrow at a certain date? And you look at your schedule and go, yeah, that actually will work. We wanted to make rescheduling easy because it happens on every project. So basically what you would do, because Dominic called, I would edit that conference. I would change the time. I would save and close it. And under the hood, everything's taken care of for you for conference lines. The screens that Dominic gets with the link for the interview, they're all updated for the new time, and Dominic's still scheduled to be called in at that time now. So now that's changed. All the conference lines are all changed for you. So again, we're not making you deal with any conference lines. So now I'm ready for an interview with Jeff. I would join now, and so what you would get is the screen that you're seeing up here. You'd have your guide. If you've created a guide, you don't have to. If you're sharing media, you don't even need a guide. You could just upload your media, and there's a drop down to share which media you're looking to share with the participant. I like to put in a guide because it keeps everything in one place, and you're able to read your questions from the screen and keep your eyes on the back room. Everything's there on your screen. So I want to take a few minutes here to just explain what will happen at interview time. So let's say our interview is at 1 o'clock. What the system will do is 2 minutes prior to 1, so at 12:58, it'll call out all the moderators and observers that have opted in to be called. And so it'll get them all on the line. And let's say what will happen is you can actually look at the user list and see that Nathan and Rachel have picked up the line. They're on the conference line in the back room. I can see that their screen is connected, so they're actually connected to the chat and ready to go. But I see that Jeff is grayed out here. Jeff, my participant, is not on the phone and isn't even on the share yet, but it's 2 minutes prior. So let's say we're ready. All my observers are here. I'm here as a moderator. I can actually beat the system and say, you know what, I'm ready to get on the call now, 2 minutes early. So I can actually beat the system, the automated call, and say call now, call in Jeff. Jeff gets called, picks it up, and then the discussion time, that's where the discussion time actually starts. So if Jeff's is a couple minutes late, your discussion time starts a couple minutes late. And you'll see the importance of that later when we get to reporting. Now, if Jeff is on the line, you would see there's the button to call Jeff would turn into hang up, and it would show that they're connected. But let's say Jeff wasn't connected to the web and I wanted to do a share. In this case, it's showing it is, but if they weren't, you would see this grayed out and you would say, hey, Jeff, can you get to that link and just launch that link from the invite or the reminder you just received? And then as soon as they click that and they connect, you would see that light up and get darker. Once you're in your guide and you're asking questions, sharing media is easy. You've already created a guide and your media is there, or you load it from the drop-down. I can click the share button, and this is the view that on the right is the view that participant would get in the browser. If they're on a mobile, it would be on mobile. They can actually blow it up to a bigger screen, but we try to use as much real estate as we can out of the natural state. For moderators and observers, what they see is they'll see a little thumbnail that comes up that's showing what the participant is seeing. They can actually blow it up as well if it's something that has text content, so they want to read along with them. They can make it larger. And that really kind of comes to the end of the experience. That's what it is until we get to you want to end the group. But before I go to ending the group, I wanted to touch base again on some of the stuff we've done under the hood. So again, reestablishing a phone line. So if as a moderator, and that would be one of the worst case scenarios, you have observers in the back room and somehow you've lost your connection as a moderator, you want to get back on that line as quick as possible. You're not searching through your documents to see what's the number again, to dial back in, to put in a PIN code. You got to hurry up because the clients are probably, the observers in the back room are probably going like, what's going on here? Jeff's alone in that room. Basically, it'll pop up on your screen and say, hey, we lost your connection, call in now. So you can call in. When you get that, it'll say, would you want me to call you at the same number? If that's acceptable, you can say call now. You could change the number, say call me back. Or if you really want to, we show you the PIN, the phone numbers and pins. Now, because you have a phone number registered, if you call this number, we already know who that number is associated to. It won't even ask you for a PIN or even an option to select which activity. So even when you do make a call through the conference lines, our systems are smart enough to go and say, hey, we know that number, this is them, they don't need a PIN, just get them in. They've registered that number already. And then what it would do when you hit call me, it would show on the screen as dialing, and then you'd be back and connected. And the same thing would happen if the participant lost their connection. The hang up would turn into a call now. You could call Jeff back, and on Jeff's screen it'll say dialing. It'll actually say that the moderator is calling you out, and your phone will start ringing instantly. Now let's say we're at the end of the interview. We've had a successful interview, and we say thank you, Jeff. It's been great for the interview. Thank you for all the feedback. You'll be getting your incentive shortly. And I want to end the group. Well, if you hang up all the phones, you'll see all the lines will disconnect. Or you could say end the group here, and that'll actually physically cut the lines out. Now, if you remember our security system, if we forgot to end group, but everybody just hung up, as soon as you hang up, even if the participant didn't, they could stay on the line, but there's nobody there, but their screen's locked out. Even if you left a share up, they wouldn't be able to see it. If you forget to do the end group, what we do in the system, we leave it on up to 20 minutes. If we've had 20 minutes of inactivity between with the moderator, we then automatically shut down the lines, and we retroactively set the end discussion time to the last time the participant and the moderator spoke. And that really becomes important into reporting the start and the end time of the discussion from a costing perspective and a reporting perspective. And I'll show you that now. So once your discussion is done, as soon as it's finished, we get the audio file automatically under the hood. This is all automated. We don't have people doing this. We take the file, and then we also trim it at the beginning and at the end to the discussion time. So when the moderator and participant first connected together to the last time the moderator and participant ended. And the beauty behind that is you're recording when you play back. You don't get the silence at the front waiting and then at the end if somebody stayed on the line longer than they should have. And then when you download your audio, you don't have to do that clipping yourself if you're sending this to a transcriber. And then the other part is that we have added the ability to order your transcripts directly from our platform. We tell you how much it would cost based on the time of the length of the audio. And again, let's iterate that because we do the trimming, you're only paying for the interview itself, not dead time up front and at the end. Once you order the transcript, our transcripts are human transcriptions with 99% accuracy. So they do take a little bit of time, but as soon as it's done, you will get an email back to you and it'll say, hey Kate, your transcript for this certain IDI is available for download. And when you click the download transcript, you'll have to go through login. I didn't show the login screens here, but you'll log into your platform and it'll automatically bring you to that interviews reporting tab ready to download the file in a Word format. That looks a lot like this. So basically the interview itself, the profile for the participant, and then also the transcript in a way that's separated by speaker. So Kate, moderator, is saying, good morning, Jeff. Thank you for joining me. Jeff comes in and says, hello, Kate. I'm looking forward to the discussion. So you can see who is saying what. And that really brings us from the start and the end to the product itself. Again, I want to reiterate, especially with the phone lines, there is no management on your part. You basically book an interview at a time and everything's done and hooked into the broadcaster for you. You don't deal with any phone lines. So that's the product. We try to make it as simple as possible to really reach for those and enhance your IDIs that you're doing in the industry right now. We want to change the industry in a way that you never do an IDI that's missing a recording or doesn't have the option for a transcript or even doesn't have your clients in the back room.
And it's just simply stored in one place. Like all of your data and information remains there. We store it. Just in one place to manage your whole product.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. With that, I'll pass it back to Garnett and to close it off and also get to some questions.
All right, so the first question we have here, how are the phone line and media integrated?
Yeah, the phone lines and the phone lines built right into the platform. So, as you saw here, as soon as you create an interview, we take care of creating those phone lines under the hood for you. You'll never see like a screen in our IDIs where you say, okay, connect the phone line to it. This is the conference line. And then these are the numbers, and then when somebody changes an interview, the numbers change. Everything is from the creation of an interview to the update of an interview is taken care under the hood for the phone lines. And it's tied into our broadcaster, so when you send out a broadcast and an invite, everything's connected to, right down to if we have a phone number for a participant, our system's hooked up and set up automatically in a way that it'll call out to them.
Great, thank you. How are the audio downloads labeled?
That's a very good question. I believe they're labeled by the name of the interview itself. I'd have to double check that, but I'm quite sure that's how it's done. It's basically the label, the label that you gave through an interview. When you created your project and you have 5 interviews, and I call this interview John's interview, Jack's interview, it'll be jack.mp3, john.mp3.
Great, thank you. Is there a fee for the audio file download in addition to the base price of booking the group? And also, is there additional fees associated with the transcription?
Yes. Okay. So it's no and yes. So there are no fees for the audio file. You can play back the audio in a streaming way, so you don't have to download it. You can play it back immediately after. Everything's automated, so it takes a couple minutes to trim the file down and make it available. But a few minutes later after your interview, you'll see a player come up and you could play that audio. There's no extra fees on that. There's a download button underneath. There's no fees tied to that. It comes with the cost of the interview. Where there is a fee is the transcription, because there's human labor involved in doing that. So on the screen we show you the cost to send that out to a transcription. But again, hosting the transcript file within our platform and accessing that file is free. So it comes with the cost of the survey. The only thing we charge is the permanent costs of the transcription that we pass on to you.
All right. What format does the audio file come in?
It's in an MP3 format, which is a pretty common format and an easy format to drag and drop into PowerPoint or a Word file. And the players built into the Office tools are receptive to that, and they're able to play that back within those products.
Okay. All right. This next question is asking for clarification on how the respondent using a mobile device receives media during the interview. Is it through an app or a website that they are taken to during the call?
It's through a browser and a call. So there is no app download for sharing media. We can share video, images, websites, and it's all done through the browser. And that was a key element for us to have out there, so we didn't have to do these tech checks and making sure up front before your interview starts that you have our app installed. There is really no need for an app. Like from a bulletin board perspective, we have an app because we leverage things like video recording, compression, notifications. You know, you really can't do a quality bulletin board type app without having an app when it comes to a bulletin board. But sharing media like videos and images and not leveraging taking videos and uploading them, there's no reason to have an app, and that's where we've kept it simple so you don't lose panelists coming into especially something that's real time, right?
Right. Does the media sharing feature support desktop sharing and control? Can I share a prototype with a participant and allow them to click through it while I observe?
At this point in time, we don't do desktop sharing with our telephone IDI product. If you need desktop sharing, we do that with our video product. And again, there's cost implicated with that because there is the fact that we have to make sure that we have a tech check done to make sure that the plugin to be able to do that share is there and works on their computer before the interview actually starts. So we've left the screen sharing and clickability to a product like our video product.
Great.
Keep it very simple.
All right. Can the moderator take notes in his or her copy of the discussion guide in the window for each interview?
We don't have note-taking right within the product right now. The strategy that we're looking at is to enhance our product in the next few months with the ability to tag content, and that will allow the ability to take notes as well. So we want to take an approach more of a tagging approach so that it helps you with taking highlight reel clips at the end.
Great. Is there a real-time support line available in case there is a problem?
Yes, there is. So within the platform itself, we always have a chat link at the top that participants or moderators or observers can click, and that'll get you to a live person within our operations group that helps configure or with any configuration or issues that you're dealing with. We do have 2 levels of that service. So in order to keep our costs down, the service I just described comes with the product. You can also book a dedicated technician to be minute by minute on the phone with you. And when you book your interviews, there is a checkbox to set if you want that on.
All right, next question here. Are there technologies we need to confirm with the participant to use the system? For example, do they need a specific type of phone or type of computer requirement?
No, there isn't that, and that there isn't a requirement in a way that that we don't have plugins for this product. So any smartphone with a browser on it, which will be all our smartphones, can handle the screens that we show to participants. So participants don't get very much. They just basically get, if you're doing a screen share, it's just a share. So there isn't much to it in support-wise. So any modern phone with a browser, mobile phone with a browser, and then we do have browser support versions for all of our browsers. We support all the major browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Mac, Safari for Mac, and all the Internet Explorer versions out there that are newer than version 9 for IE. But the latest versions of everything else is acceptable.
All
So we
right.
cover the majority of the industry out there.
Okay, so this is just a confirmation. Can they have an old-fashioned non-smartphone or landline to participate?
Yeah, so if you're not doing any media sharing, the phone line works on any phone, even what they used to call a clamshell phone, right? Doesn't matter for us. That'll work with the conference lines. And then they can do if you do have a share, you can do it through the desktop. So you can use an old cell phone for the phone lines and a desktop or an iPad for the screen sharing itself.
Great. If there were to be multiple interviews happening at the same time by different moderators, how do observers switch back and forth, or can they?
Basically, the way that would be done is from your portal screen where you see multiple interviews, you would have to set up where you have 2 phone lines and launch those two interviews on your screen, so you can be participating in both. So you can mute your line on one and mute your line on whichever one you're actually participating in at the time, or you can actually be just your voice over both of them if you wanted to.
Great, thanks. Can you turn off the audio recording in a situation when the participant does not want to give the interviewer permission to record?
Right now, we don't have the capabilities to turn off the recording. We do have some asks that we're looking at with regards to the ability to do that when it comes to sensitive information, so being able to have a section of the interview that's not recorded. But for right now, from what we got in the industry, was that the recordings are there. The recordings are only available to the moderator. They aren't available to the observers unless you share them yourself.
Great, thank you. Are you able to accommodate a group of users at the same time?
Not yet. We focused on interviews because that was the major market out there for us. When we look at our real-time versus, if we look at in real-time with our chats in our focus groups, our video focus groups, what we saw is that our chats are typically groups. 95% of our chats are groups, and when we went to video interviews, it was the opposite. 95% were our interviews with just one participant. So what we did is on our roadmap, it is there to have group capabilities. We focused on the simplicity of interviews because that's the biggest part of the market, but it is coming.
Obviously, multiple people in the back room.
Oh yeah, multiple observers and multiple moderators are capable within the platform. We just focused on the single interview itself, single participant interview.
Super. Okay, we have answered the various questions that have been submitted. If more come up, feel free to send them in, and we may follow up with you after the webinar as well. I wanted to mention a few resources. The ITracks website has a resources tab, and there are several free webinars, product demonstration, articles, and case studies regarding qualitative research and software. So feel free to browse those resources that are available. I wanted to mention that ITracks offers free training for all of our platforms, so contact ITracks to arrange for a free individual training session on conducting interviews with an IDI. I also want to bring your attention to our next webinar coming up next week on February 4th. This is a really exciting project, and it's going, Gilles, do you just want to go to the next slide there? One of our team members, Kathy Fitzpatrick, has a wealth of knowledge and experience in qualitative research, and she is hosting and moderating an online discussion board with our clients and people that are just thinking of delving into online qualitative research. So that is happening this week, and Kathy will be presenting the results of the board, talking about what some of the barriers were. Some of the experienced researchers are sharing how they overcame those barriers, and the different advantages that that they've been able to experience by moving to an online environment. So that webinar is going to be, it's called Taking the Leap into Online Research, and that's on February 4th next week. You can sign up for that webinar on our website under the resources tab, so www.itracks/resources. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us. It was a pleasure being able to interact and answer your various questions. If you have additional questions, feel free to contact us and we will do our best to meet your research needs.